All right, what's up, people? I know, right? As soon as I made that last video, they reinstated the fucking hearts, which makes me look like a goof. However, because I did that to myself, now I owe you, all of you, everybody that I'm going to give a heart to and everybody that I'm not, the video that I said I was going to do on the algorithmic universe follow-up. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is this video. Now, here's what I want you to imagine. So we're going to start with this. I just want you to imagine something for a second. I want you to imagine something that is completely straight. Right? It could be a line. It could be a road. However many dimensions you want it to be. Now consider that whatever dimensionality you gave that straight thing, that is exactly how many dimensions it exists within. I want you to keep that in mind, because what I want to introduce you to is the concept of bent. So now I want you to imagine that same thing, whatever you had in mind. But now I want you to imagine it to be bent instead of straight. So it goes like this for a while, and then it does this. It bends. Now, depending on which, particular object you had in mind, what you'll notice is that no matter what dimensionality that object had initially, and that by being straight could not transverse, by merely bending that same thing, you've introduced a new dimension to its measurement. Does that make sense? So, if you want to think of it as a line, that's one dimension. And you can, you can do it this way, or you could do it this way. The number line. You start at 0, you go to positive infinity, negative infinity, right? But the minute you allow that to be bent, you get what are known as complex numbers, which are basically the union of regular numbers plus the impossible, imaginary square roots of negative numbers, right? That's a bending of mathematics. Space-time is also bent, is it not? By something called gravity, right? Things we don't understand, known as black holes, etc. So what I'm going to do at 3.5 minutes in, that's just the preview. That's just something I want you to keep in mind, is that when you bend something, you inherently add at least one more dimension to it. Now, depending on how you bend it, there's no telling how many extra dimensions you can give it. If you look at one of the, biggest things going out there today, which I've been calling bullshit on since day one, and now a lot of physicists are also coming out and saying, yeah, I'm not saying I'm a physicist. I'm saying other people that happen to be physicists are coming out and saying, yeah, string theory is some bullshit. But string theory rests on that fundamental assumption that if you take fundamental particles not as point things, but as two-dimensional constructs, meaning that you bend them, then that first bending allows you to continue to bend, and then you get the folded up dimensions, and then you get the 12-dimensional space-time that they argue for, right? This is what bending allows you to do. So now, here's where we get into Buddhism. Because in Buddhism, there are what are known as the 5 primordial wisdoms. And these are basically characteristics of the pure and open state of primordial awareness, which would be called the nature of mind, Samsnid, etc. It's not even Dharmakaya at this point. It's prior to that. And the idea is basically that, okay, so this gets to like things like Russell's Paradox. You have to ask yourself, is Samsnid straight or is it bent? Right? That's what you have to ask yourself fundamentally. Now, if you understand that it is in fact straight, that means that its ultimate dimensionality cannot exceed its current extension. And because it is a fundamental, not only non-duality, prior to non-duality, emptiness essence, that its necessary dimensionality is 0. So the 0 is primary. In other words, and I've made other videos on this. You can check those out. But basically the concept is you have a question, a fundamental question to answer. And if you answer that question, that Samsnid is straight, meaning not bent, that's what's represented through the 5 primordial wisdoms, which are contacts to shunyata, or emptiness essence, or the nirvana, or the cessation of grasping and seeking and touching. Right? However, if Samsnid is bent, then that opens up a dimension. And all it takes is 1, and then it crawls through. Then it gets bent, poisoned, touched by grasping, by feeling, by emotion, by power. What else are you going to say, right? However, how does this touch on what I call the algorithmic universe? Because at the end of the day, the fundamental algorithm is not a computer. The fundamental algorithm is your mind, which is a receiver for Samsnid. And that's a transmission that you can either receive straight, this is nirvana, or bent. And this is the multifaceted world of samsara, maya, the never-ending illusion, the play of mind upon itself. But remember, these two things, these two conceptions are non-dual. And I'll leave it there. So you got a goof video and a serious video on the same day. We'll check the view counts. We'll check the hearts. Everybody will be held to account. This is not a bomb drill.